Okay, you may start now.
All right. I hope that you've had a great lunch break. And for those who haven't had the lunch break, like me, and you're busy probably, doing extra research and stuff like that, I also want to empathize with you. But thank you so much for being with us. It is actually, we are now on home stretch for the second day of this amazing Africa BankTech Summit 2021. And of course, this is another particular session that is very, very important as far as, the banking sector and technology sector is concerned. And my name, as always, for those who are joining me for the first time, is Eugene Anangwe, and I'm happy to see, some names out of Kigali, Rwanda, and I'm very happy to actually have you on the panel. And let me introduce our panelists for those who are joining us right now on this particular topic on cloud platforms in the banking ecosystem. I have Faheem Ali, who is the Chief Risk Officer of Musoni Microfinance Limited. Ali, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Eugene.
Also with us is none other than Kevin Rudahinduka, who's the Director, Aheza Transformation Program at the Bank of Kigali. Thank you so much, Kevin, for being a part of this particular conversation.
Thank you. It's an honor being here.
Right. So we will just delve right into this particular conversation because time is also not on our side. When we're talking about cloud platforms, in the banking ecosystem, we definitely are talking about a move or a migration from a particular way of, storage or particular way of accessing some of the data that has to do with the banking ecosystem to a new model, which is now the cloud-based platform. But before we get into the deeper gist of this conversation, I want us to understand, Kevin, maybe you can start off with us by telling us, the adoption process of this platform, the cloud-based platform. What is being done from where you sit to ensure that it is actually a success?
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a great question. I think what's being done, or at least let me speak from what we are doing as a bank. And first of all, it's not easy, not fast, I would say, to move through this adoption of thinking of on-premise and moving to cloud. And the first really key thing, it's not just about jumping to the cloud. It's first of all having a business need or a strategy, like why do you need to go to the cloud? And for us, this has been more of, first of all, driving or designing the strategy in terms of how do we want to improve our business going forward, and what do we need to achieve. And we looked and say, okay, if we need to achieve this, then what are the tools or what are the capabilities do we need to bring in to achieve the business goals? So if we want to run the bank 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days, and the customer, as Eugene, you're expecting a transaction to happen in milliseconds, then the one of the ways is say let's adopt cloud. So it has to start from that business perspective, from a strategy as a bank or the leadership, the board. First of all, believing into the strategy that you're putting in place for the next minimum 3 years, 3 to 5 years, because it's not something you can also solve in a year. That's one. Secondly,
go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin. It's okay. Go ahead.
Secondly, on that particular strategy that now becomes the most difficult part is how do you want to roll it out, and what are your main key areas of that you want to start so that people can adopt the strategy? And that comes with change management. It comes with people. So you can't want to think of going to cloud if you don't even have people who understand cloud. That's really what I wanted to get to. Thank you.
Perfect. And I think very, very important points right there. where you're saying that before even thinking about cloud-based solutions, there has to be an answer to the question of why do we need to go or to move to the cloud-based system? And this is where I bring in Ali. Ali, if this is the trend for businesses, to decide whether cloud-based or physical servers and what have you, what have you been able to see as the trends in answering that question of do we really need to move to cloud or not?
I believe yes, we really need to move to the cloud because cloud is the one which give us, number of services. And if I would say that the African cloud may be small right now, but it is growing faster. For the African market, the cloud visualization and the borders evaluation towards the serverless computing and are the most disruptive technology development which is going on right now after the mobile payment resolution which we already had in an African continent. So African banks are also making investment, in this cloud computing. It's like a machine learning, AI tools, and all that. That is actually improving the customer services, and that will be actually the new norm. Actually, as we have the new norm of the digital banking transformation, changing, the emerging. But at least at the part of the cloud banking. I also want to say something what my colleague have said that yes, first of all, before a successful cloud banking, you really need to build a clear vision that what is a clear vision as a company on this cloud computing with the specific goals that align with the the business needs. If you do not have the business needs understanding why you want to go on the cloud banking, then again, it's not a clear vision with the change, with the people, as my colleague also said. And this also comes actually right from the cloud service provider, CSP, and that is most important in terms of how you choose, how you deploy. And as an institution, as a financial institution, Musoni, we have actually done a transformation on the CSP, as in with our number of partners. And that is actually one of our key goal also as a digital strategy for the institution or the business strategy. We don't call it digital strategy. It's actually our business strategy. Our business is now actually more of digital, So that's the vision, that's the need of the business. It's very important to understand and align with your needs. Thank you.
Perfect. Kevin, let me bring you back in. You said in your opening statements that before a banking institution, decides to go to move to the cloud, first they need to answer that particular question, whether there's a need for that. Let's now assume that the question has been answered, and yes is the answer, that yes, there is a need. And also what Ali says, are the customers also available for this? And let's say the answer is actually yes, they're available. They will actually be interacting with the cloud-based solutions from your institution. What should be the next stage? Let's say there's an institution that is watching us right now and is planning or intending to move to the cloud. What would be the next phase? We have answered those two important questions. What next, Kevin?
So, Eugene, thanks. What's next really after you've answered the why the digital, why you need that business to be supported by the cloud?
Yes.
For me, I would take it in the perspective of people, not maybe like maybe I may have done it. This is also maybe to correct my my mistakes that I may have done. Jumping into coming up with a product that would you justify the business case, and you can see the returns if you can roll out this product in 2 months, in 1 month, because you're taking the advantage of the cloud. All these things come with the cloud. But the biggest mistake I would say I have probably done, and I'm trying to see how I can make it better, is the next thing I would really recommend to any bank: expose your people. Expose them from across, the auditors, the risk information, all the 4 areas of how we protect the information of the bank. Expose them to understand what is this cloud. Let them understand the different type of clouds. If it's training, if it is sessions, workshops like this, take them to first see what are we dealing with when I don't have a server that I can look at. Because sometimes we think me having a server I can look at, it is more safer than being out there. But really, at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're just protecting the information and the data protection. So the moment you start touching a product in that area in the cloud space, all those things that you are seeing physically start not being there. So you start looking now, what are your policies, your capability of people, or what type of risk assessments you need to do to be able to appreciate what the cloud is there. The cloud is big. There's so many advantages. But if in the first place, your own people in the bank do not have the appreciation of how to manage the risk and to assess it, I can say don't even try to build the product.
All right. That's very interesting. Ali, I'm sure you're also picking up a few points from this, but let me read your thoughts on the aspect of beliefs that probably we've always had. And someone says, I've had everybody talking about moving to the cloud, and they find it, just the thought of it, they find it very, sexy, very amazing, very, a step ahead in their business, only for them to discover some other things that are needed actually for you to fully optimize the utilization of this huge investment that they need to make to be able to move to the cloud. What would you be telling such a person who's just about to make that particular move? What, from your lessons, I've had Kevin talk about the lessons that he has learned, and if he was to correct them, what probably would you be telling someone who's about to make that move? And from your own experience, you would be saying, I wish I knew this. And now that I know it, I don't want another person to go through what I went through while deciding to move to the cloud.
Thank you. Very basic and key points on that particular area. And I would recommend all professional bankers to please review these points before you move from physical servers to the cloud-based banking. And these are the very key points. Number one, always do the cost and return investment, ROI. What is your cost and return investment? If you are moving from the physical to cloud, what is exactly you need? Why you need that one? What is your return on investment of that particular? Is it that in your strategy that you need to build some digital solution which you cannot do from the physical, you want to go for the cloud base, that's why you want to do? Number two is actually quality and reliability of the cloud infrastructure. There are a number of cloud infrastructure available, but they are not reliable, or the quality is not as what you want. So remember, the service provider, whatever you intake in your institution, ultimately it is your name, it is your reputation. So you need to be very careful on the cloud infrastructure and the reliability. The third is actually the performance matters. The performance is the number one area. If the performance are not there, if the uptime is not there, if it is level agreements, or with your recovery time objective, like we say in the BCP and all that, then again it will also bring you lots of issues. Then also the licensing. Licensing is also one of the key area which you really need to see. And then again, the service level agreement. Service level agreement is one of the key area where you need to see what are the timeline for every part, for the everything. And service level agreements needs to be reviewed very critically. And if possible, please also allow the third party solutions to review for you. Then again, for sixth one is the security. Security, I mean not only the cyber security or all security. So security is actually the 360-degree view. Your mashup, on all the secured area, your IT security, infrastructure security, all the cyber security areas, and again the people security also, because that is also number one. Yeah. And the last point, I will just conclude with the last point. The last point is actually the internet bandwidth and also the reliability. Is it your internet bandwidth is really capable to move from the physical to cloud-based? That is also number one area. And sometimes people move with only one area of, something good they see and they move over there, but they forget that there are a number of other areas also which, which they also need to invest before they go over there. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll still bring you back on another point, but let me allow Kevin to also come in on this. Kevin, there's the question of reliability. When we move to the cloud, I'm sure you've had in various instances where clients have, complained that, I'm trying to access my bank account, but I'm being told by the customer care service that the net is down. And so I'm not able to check my balance. I'm not able to actually pay for this particular service. There are those who feel that probably these are some of the disadvantages, of having your data stored, via cloud-based that is actually highly reliant on the internet, and hence this particular challenge of the net is down. So how do we deal with this? What do you think should be the way to go? Do you see a scenario of fusing the two, where a banking institution has both of the solutions, both physical servers and also cloud-based for backup?
Thank you, Eugene. First of all, allow me to say that whatever the customers complain about in terms of there's no network, it has nothing to do with cloud or being on premise. Mm-hmm. Maybe let's iron out that. Mm-hmm. If a service is not available, it's simply not available, regardless whether it is sitting on premise or sitting on the cloud. Mm-hmm. In fact, the best service is that the customer should not even know that this service is sitting on cloud on premise, because I can tell Eugene where you're sitting, you don't even know where your Twitter or this Zoom is hosted, or even your bank, you just don't even know where exactly where it is. I think the most critical thing is assuring service availability to a customer. Mm-hmm. And how do we build this assurance to the customer? Maybe we need to start being very open in terms of how a customer can check the service availability. And this is what I like about the cloud, particularly if right now I'm on Azure or I'm on Oracle or whatever, I can get to check which services of mine are available, which sites are down or which sites are up. But you as a customer, you do not know. Maybe we should be able to start giving services to our customer to check. If I'm using my mobile banking, is there a place I can even see the trend if this services has been up, where I can just check rather than simply just experience it, because I can check the availability, just like I can check the stock market or the blockchain market or crypto, how it's doing. Why am I not doing it for today? So for me, it's all about awareness, transparency, because at the end of the day, a customer should never have to worry, why is it a network issue? Because if I go to explain in detail where the issue is, in fact, the customer won't even care. All they need is, can I have my service within the agreed service level agreement? And if it is not available, what's the alternative? Because if I give the alternative to the customer, I can tell you, they won't bother to know where this other site, or they don't even get to ask. So that's what I would recommend. At the end of the day, we just need to change the perception of how people see the cloud or the information, because at the end of the day, for me, it's to count that service level agreement that is being asked. How do I protect the information? How do I give assurance to the customer? And probably the customer cares more if the price is low to the service. So if they can start experiencing that the cost of the service is getting cheaper and cheaper, I can tell you, they will even tell you, take everything to the cloud, if they knew the difference, what is on cloud and on premise. But as we go forward, banks, we have no choice other than to have what we call hybrid. And hybrid, we mean you definitely have certain services that are running on premise and others are running on cloud, because simply there's legacy you still need to maintain, and that legacy won't move to the cloud soon. So there's a bit of a transition. Maybe if we were starting a bank today, yes, maybe we would say everything is in the cloud. But considering that we have legacy to maintain, then there will always be a hybrid as we move, because the urgency now we have as banks or financial institution is how quickly can I launch a new service in a short period of time especially specifically in this pandemic. I do not have time to go bring a consultant who's going to come and work on a project for 6 months. I need something that I can launch quickly and solve the problem. And the only way I can tell you, it's cloud.
Perfect. Ali, I mean, let's talk a bit about the infrastructure needed. I'm sure, and I'm very happy that Kevin at least mentioned in his last submission, on the issue of how easy it will be to actually set up this. But let's talk about the infrastructure needed, the know-how, and the expertise, research, this R&D. What should we be doing to ensure that at the end of the day, these solutions are also pocket friendly for those who want to really execute them within their own operations?
Thank you. I think the first thing is that we really need to understand from the overall point of view that will this services which I'm bringing will give me the cost higher or cost reduction. That is particularly the associated with delivering the new solution as well as an overall operating cost. And overall operating cost is very must, because sometimes you don't know that if you are bringing something, there is more hidden cost available which you don't know, and once you bring them, you will be aware that okay, there is something else also, and then at the end you are paying lots of money. The second is actually the scalability. Adopting the cloud allow the banks to scale on demand with the cloud services able to spend and the contracts as needed and almost immediate, because that's what the services that now the customer also need. But I also agree with my colleague that the customer services what they need also to be available. As you see, most of the time customer says that your internet is down. Sometimes they also the institution sends number of SMSs that the system is down or the system is on the maintenance. And we know that there is no backup available or there's no services being tested very well at the behind. So that starts first from the quality, the testing environment is very, important. Right now, as we have accelerated with the digital transformation, definitely number of areas we are not reviewing before we are deploying because of number of pressure, internal pressure from the stakeholders, pressure from the the investors, and also pressure from the customers' demand, because customers' demand is also changing. They don't want to go as the same as they were going earlier. It's a very good saying that earlier you were going to the bank to deposit the check, but now you will still go to the bank, but now you will go for the only for depositing your data, not maybe any other services. So all these services are now seamless. It's a virtual. And that's why you also have to be very quick on these areas. And then again, as the testing, I was saying that project management and testing is one of the area where you are allowing of all these services, which is most important in this term. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Kevin. I want to ask you this question. It's somehow related. It has to do with empowering of our continent. Just recently there was a very huge meeting that involved heads of states from Africa, and President Paul Kagame himself was actually insisting on the issue of fighting what we call vaccine apartheid, and there was no way that we were going to deal with this pandemic if Africans are not going to be able to also, have their own vaccine plans. And then when we talk about cloud-based systems and operations, what rings to my mind if I was to relate these things is, do we on the continent of Africa have the capacity to also say we can be able to create these cloud-based systems that even Western nations and other superpowers can also be saying we actually, get these services from an African country or the African continent? Kevin, are we ready for this, or we are just comfortable that Israelis will give us the cloud-based system, whoever will give us the, are we ready for this challenge? Are we actually doing anything about it?
It's quite an interesting one. I totally believe what our president has challenged us to do, and I think definitely we can't do it. Eugene, this analogy, I'm going to give this analogy. Why is every bank not building their own power grid? Why are we sharing a power grid? And by the principle that every bank right now has tapped into the power grid that has already been given, why should I reinvent the wheel also by building my own data centers as a bank to do all these things? So I believe that we have the power as we Africans, anywhere in the continent, in Africa, that we can build these particular data centers that operate on the highest level standards to be able to provide services for our customers, be it the banking, be it in any industry, but we have the capability to do it. It just takes the vision, the need. Again, everything has to start with the vision and the business need why we need to do it as either as a country, which as a country or a continent, which I would rather, instead of trying to do it as a country, maybe do it from a regional base, maybe multiple regions, we get together and do it, considering we have applied these principles, Eugene, to the same things like the power grid, the train, or whatever. Why don't we also do the same and say, okay, we as East Africans or South or North, can we build reliable data centers that we can use to cut down the cost to provide the services? So we have the capability. I believe we also even have the money. We have the money and we can learn. Where we fall short, we can always learn and improve. But we need to start. We can't always rely and wait for Microsoft Azure or the Oracles or the Googles of this world to come and tell us how better to do these things. Why we could do it on a smaller scale, and which is the beauty about the cloud. We can start on a smaller scale. Start maybe with the financial institutions, the insurance, the people who are already having the biggest footprint of carbon emission, let me call it that way. And they can be able to pay off some of this cost from a region, but it needs a vision, it needs risk takers, and it needs challengers like the president to be able to put these challenges in our hands. And in also people to start talking about why is it not possible? It is possible. So I'm truly on that particular boat, and I'm willing with all my efforts to make it happen.
Perfect. So we have already started talking about it. That's a check on that particular list. You said that we need people to start talking about it. We need a risk taker and, of course, someone with a vision. I'm hoping that in your next board meeting, this is one of an item that will be a subject on the agenda to discuss in your next board meeting with your chief executive officer. Let me bring in Ali. I'm sure time is also not on our side. I want us to just take our closing remarks as we move towards the end of this conversation. Really briefly, just let's say 30 seconds each. The risks that are involved, what should we be doing, and maybe just your last words on this particular topic.
Thank you. I will just connect what my colleague have said. That is really possible. I've worked in Asian countries also, and I've worked in in African countries. And I tell you, in West Africa or in Nigeria or in Kenya or in East Africa, it is really possible. Only what we need is actually a supportive regulatory environment on cloud banking services, and also a reliable, connections, and also, kind of a cost, high cost data. That is something which is actually hindering us on these areas. And the last one is the security and compliance. If these things are available, I tell you, we are already there. We are the risk takers actually in Africa, and we will definitely take this one and we'll go on that side. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Kevin, I think because of time, I'll give you just 10 seconds.
Yes. Look, anyone who's on the call hearing me, just go out and try the cloud. Start small, start failing. You will get better as time goes by.
All right. Thank you very much. Very, very well used 10 seconds. Gustav, I think we're good to go. Thank you very much for being a part of this session. We'll see you again next time at the closing session. But let's join the next session that is happening right about now. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.